Hello everybody, this is Maurice Kande from the City of David and from the Maurice Kande blog. Today I would like to speak to you about a very important and common subject that we tend to think about more often than we think actually. Have you ever been in a situation where you're constantly worried about the way you will pay your bills and how you will supply for your needs and how you will take care of your kids and how will you supply for your family? I have a lot of times, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there who are listening to me also have gone through the same thing. It is very possible that you may think that your job or your business is your source, but this is not true. God is your source, and it's very important that you think that way, because if you think of your job or your business as your source, then the achievement or the resources you need to achieve your goals will be limited to the sources that you believe is your source, will be limited to your job, will be limited to the amount of money you make in your business. But when you believe that God is your source, then you will actually understand that the resources needed to achieve your purpose are unlimited, can be provided to you in an unlimited way. Think of this. The children of Israel were freed from Egypt to go to the promised land. And in the process, while they were going in the desert, God was feeding them with manna, and they did not even have to work. There were so many reasons as to why God was feeding them with manna, and one of the reasons was actually to show them that they did not need to be slaves to actually get food. Check this out. The manna was the very same food they were eating every single day without working for it. But in Egypt, they had to work as slaves to eat tomatoes and cucumbers and onions and all sorts of meat. By feeding them in the desert without working, without expecting them to work, God was actually teaching them that He was their source and not their work as slave, and not slavery. Slavery was no longer their source. Think of this as well. There is a story in the book of Kings where the prophet Elijah was actually fed by crows. What an amazing way of actually providing for a servant. These are some of the examples that can actually teach us, and that are actually showing us that God has multiple ways to provide for our needs. And the job that you have, the business that you have, is not your main source. It is just a channeling way, just a method, just a way that God uses to provide for you. Therefore, whenever God gives you a vision, do not measure the resources needed for the vision based on the income that you get at your workplace or based on the income that you make at your business. Expect unlimited resources to accomplish a vision by looking at God as your source, even if your job may not be enough to pay you, or even if your clients at your business may not be paying you or giving you enough money to accomplish your goals or the vision that God has given you. You must understand that God has alternative and additional ways or channels that He can use to provide for your purpose. Do not be fooled. Your job was never meant, and this is especially for those who are employed at work, your job was never meant to supply to all your needs. When you went for an interview, when you went for a job interview, or when you went to apply for a job, or even when your current employer decided to hire you, it was quite clear with you when you guys started discussing salary issues. The salary that you are receiving is only a reward for the work that you are doing for your employer, and that's it. That salary is only a reward for the time and the work that you are giving to your employer. That salary is not meant to actually supply for your mansion or to get you so many things. It's not even in a contract. When your boss tells you that he's going to pay you, let's say, for example, $500, all he has in mind is just a reward he's giving you in response for the hours and the work that you're giving him, period. So therefore, we shouldn't put so much of pressure or so much of expectation on our employers and make them feel as if they have to fix everything in our lives with the single job that they gave us. Because that job is not going to fix all your issues in your life. Yes, it will respond to certain of your problems, to some of your problems. But I think it's time for you to look at God if you want to expand yourself and if you want to expand the resources you need for your purpose. Here's a challenging question. Now, I know that certain people listening to this short podcast may think or may say, well, my job is my source. I get everything from my business. I get all my money from my job and so forth and so forth. Okay, here's a challenging question. If your job is your source, and if your job is providing for everything, then why is it that the majority of the populations in the Western world and in some of the advanced economy in the world, why is it that the majority of their populations are using credit cards to supply where their salaries cannot help them out? Why is it, if you believe that your job is your source for everything, then why is it that you are using additional credit card? Because in the end of the day, that job or that business is actually not enough. And there's nowhere in the Bible, there's no verse in the Bible that says that your job or your activity or your business is going to be your source. Never. Your job was never meant to be your source. Your job was only meant, your salary was only meant to provide or to give you a reward for the number of hours and work that you gave to your employer. Period. The salary you're getting was never drawn with the intent of fixing your entire life. Yes, it's going to fix some of your issues, but you're still going to be limited if you are so focused on your job or even on your own business. Now, it is very important for a believer who actually thinks out of the box to understand and to realize that there are multiple channels of provisions that God can use. Why am I saying this? Because I can send you to the book of Daniel, chapter 10, where there's a story where the prophet was praying and he was expecting a response. And after a while, an angel actually comes to Daniel and explained to him that the response that Daniel was expecting from God was delayed. Listen to this, watch this. The response was actually delayed by a demonic force, a demonic prince. And that's why it took a bit of a while for that angel to reach Daniel. Now, it's very important for you to understand that God has or can have multiple channels to supply for your needs and to supply for your vision. Because there will be times where the enemy will come and attempt to destroy or to block some of the sources or some of the channels. Will try to block some of the channels that God is using to bless you. You may find yourself in some serious entanglement at your workplace caused by the enemy. Now, if you believe that your job is your source, then you'll be finished at that moment. But when you believe that there are multiple channels that God can use, then it makes it very hard for the enemy to actually stop you, because now he has to think even harder on ways on how to stop you from moving forward. So stop listening to those voices and those intimidating people, probably at work, or probably that intimidating person could be your boss, or it could be one of your important clients, one of your most important clients at your business, who's holding a major chunk of your financial portfolio. Do not fall for any intimidating voices from any of those people. And those intimidating voices may sound like this: well, I am the most important client, and there's nothing you can do without me, so I can treat you the way I want. Or maybe your boss may attempt to abuse you. Now, it is very possible for somebody to think that in the process, now it is very possible for somebody to actually accept intimidation at work on the basis that he or she believes that his job is his only source, and if he loses it, he's done forever. And it is also possible for a business owner to accept all sorts of mistreatment from a client on the basis that they may think that this client is everything and is the only source. If this client goes away, the business will fall apart. Stop thinking that way. I think that sometimes, not all the times, but I just think that sometimes people are so tolerant of intimidation and abuse at work or from a client because they believe that the job is the source or the client is the source. But once you start believing that God is your source and He has multiple ways to bless you, multiple ways to provide in your business, multiple ways to provide for you beside your job, I believe that once we get to that understanding, we also get to the fact that we can live with dignity and honor and being respected and without fear. So start looking at God as your source. God is your source. Nobody else, nothing else. God bless.